Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. P, and I want to welcome you to your favorite show, that is Men, the one show on the face of this earth that is not afraid to talk about the things that affect us most. Now, this show is proudly brought to you by Obulamu, and we're here at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel talking about a very sensitive topic. How do you move on after a breakup? Is it easier said than done, or is it just as simple as moving on? Now, the greatest thing about it, I did mention it earlier, but some people were telling me that that does not happen, is everybody has been dumped. The good news for those of you who think you've not is maybe you were, but you just didn't know it. So, I want to welcome our guest today, Nurdin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Peter.
Good to have you here.
My pleasure.
Now, I usually call him Ogabos. And for good reason.
Is that why we're calling him Oga Boss?
You're not supposed to tell him.
Yeah, okay.
because now we are going to call you Oga Boss.
Exactly.
Anyway, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
But I will start with my dear friend here, the one and only Jalu. Now, you clearly told me that you have never been dumped.
Yeah, I've never been dumped.
Yeah, you've just been dumping.
You need to anticipate it. You need to know. You need to read the signs.
Yeah.
You see there she's behaving, and then you anticipate it. And there I told Simi earlier on, you ghosts. There's something we call ghosting. You disappear. You don't get dumped.
You've just vanished.
You just vanish. Yeah.
Okay. So you then end up being in a situation, but you still have to move on because it's a breakup. You know, a breakup works two ways. You can either be broken up with, or you can break up with. So do you just move on to the next victim as you go?
When you anticipate it, you know that it will happen. So you find yourself you find a way to get back into the system. I always tell people, Guy Code 101.
Yeah.
Get in the system as soon as possible. That's why we have a side.
Okay. So in other words, when you see it coming, you start preparing.
You prepare
the next landing spot. Okay.
I don't know.
Colin.
I mean, when you think about it, if you go into every relationship, so I just need to set the context for the term ghosting. So when someone ghosts on you, it means they're just gone. This is a person who you've been seeing every day, and they wake up and you don't see them for 6 months.
It's effective.
They change the bars where they were drinking, they change the clubs where they were, they change the church. They are just disappeared.
But then isn't that a dangerous thing to be in? Because
I was just going to explain that if you go into every relationship hoping and setting up a ghosting plan, it's just it's physically difficult, but it's also mentally exhausting. And also, we keep thinking that it's guys who always do the dumping, but that's a very old, archaic stereotype. These days, last week I was talking to someone at work. We were just talking about how this guy took his girlfriend out for a birthday dinner on Thursday. Been going out for 3 years. On Friday, goes into work, just he's working. At 5 p.m., 6 p.m., as he's preparing to leave office, he's seeing like introduction pictures of his girlfriend introducing Peter, like another guy.
I think I saw it somewhere.
Yes, and so there's the old school ghosting, but I think that's the cowardice ghosting. The real ghosting is where you just hide in plain sight, but you just become untouchable. You're like you're in a relationship with Stefan, then tomorrow you're engaged, and then you're married next week. Like, that's the ultimate ghost, I think. That's just absolutely taking it to the highest form.
But in very many ways, don't you think that is unfair? Now, relationships are investments. You invest time, you invest money, you invest feelings, you invest a lot. Even sometimes you even invest, because some people share clothes, so sometimes you even invest clothes in it. Now, does the level, there's some, no, not like men, women like wearing men's clothes. But anyway.
So, all right.
Yeah. But does the level of hurt, is it in tandem with the amount of investment that you've put in a relationship?
I think, Peter, when you talk of investment, you talk about clothes, talk about money. But I think when relationships break up, what hits you the most is the emotional part. What you miss in the other party.
Yeah.
Now, he talked about ghosting. You cannot ghost in a real relationship. By the time you are ghosted, that relationship does not even exist.
What is a real relationship?
It doesn't exist. You can ghost with someone who's also ghosting with you. Because that's what it is.
So it's a ghost party.
It's a ghost party. You understand?
Yeah.
Because by the time you disappear without a trace, that means that the person had given you the opportunity to do that. There are partners that you would get in contact with, and believe me,
There's no space.
by the second day, they know all your brothers and sisters, your ancestors. They know
Where you
everyone.
live.
They know where you live.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after 3-4 months, where would you ghost?
Yeah, because they know. You
They
are-
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
The person that you can ghost with is someone who is also treating you like a ghost.
Yeah.
You are there, she's okay. You are not there, she doesn't bother.
That's it, chicken.
And that works out. In such a relationship, when you break, really, there is nothing. You can move on easily.
Yeah.
You can move on easily. But where you have invested emotions, where before you sleep, you need to talk to this person. Before you eat, you need to consult. Before you wear your clothes, you need to find out whether this is the right fit or not.
Yeah.
Believe me, when there is a breakup, you lie down in your bed and actually start thinking, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And that brings us to, how do you cope?
Interesting. You know, most cases, very few people do agree with Chris, but I can see Chris nodding his head, kind of like he sees the point.
No, I think Nordin is bang on the money, because there's certain people you can't ghost with.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I totally agree. I'll just repeat myself, because the only people you ghost with are those who
Let
who
you
want
ghost,
to,
yeah.
who are ghosts themselves, or want to ghost away with your money, or
Yeah.
I mean, there's something unreal about it, because there's people who you sit down with, and in just one conversation, about 1 hour, there's so much that they've been able to dig out of you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how good you are. For some reason, they sort of know how to pick data points. You know, and before long, you're mapped out. And then, you know, second time you meet, they're able to tell this is not adding up. Then they say, okay, so how long am I going to play along or not? I think that, at least from my experience, I don't think that guys are half as strong in the area of reading a situation as most women are. We think, many guys think they're players, but many of the times, a woman can see a guy coming toward her like miles ahead.
Yeah.
And so they say, I'm going to let him in on these terms. So while from what I observe, while most guys think they're playing cards,
think they're
they think
the ones
they're
with the-
playing the girl, she's playing
Just
you,
played you.
Yeah.
right? Because they're just gifted with having a sixth sense and reading things from way, way, way ahead. So, I'm not that bright.
It's
I don't
funny.
think.
But, and I'll tell you what, Stefan, do you know, I've heard it being said in a number of circles, that 90% of the time that your woman thinks you are up to something, you actually are.
No, that's
So it ties in with what you're saying, the way women are gifted with a sixth sense. Not that it means they're always right, but
No, so I oh, how to say this? I don't really agree with Chris's women have a sixth sense theory. I think that because women are naturally inclined towards sharing, with the advent of there's some of these social media pages where every woman is, so you have 34,000 women who are all sharing a story about how they got ghosted by one Jalu or another. In the end, they just build up these memory structures. There's nothing that you can imagine that someone has not done. So because you see also guys, and they're very, so okay, I want to put it like this. There are very few truly evil geniuses in our generation, in any population. So all these techniques that you see, they're developed by a few men. The guys on the other end of the spectrum, they're really bad guys. And they're adapted and customized by the guys who are in the middle. Most men will generally be in the middle. They're coping techniques from and so there's no trick that you're going to come with if she hasn't had it in her circle, with her girlfriends, in her church group, on that FB page, in the WhatsApp group. Like, so I think that it's just a over presence of information that makes women, they've become better telling, at reading signs. They've become smarter. They just have access to more information. And if that access to information makes them appear to have that sixth sense, I don't want to call it that. I think it's just that.
I think I should say that ghosting only applies to short-term relationships. Ghosting does not appear.
I mean, like one night.
Not one night, like side dish type of relationship.
My friends, people have had side dishes for 30 years.
I told you earlier.
You have a very
What sense of
the side dish.
It's not. You cannot ghost someone you've known for a couple of years. How would you do it?
You just go.
So which boils down to the fact that you cannot ghost someone that's you
have a real
relationship with. You can't.
And that's why I asked you, what is a real relationship?
Well,
we can talk about it. But what you need to understand, what you need to agree with is that, first of all, did you know that when a man sees a woman, he can make up 2 or 3 conclusions about the woman. Whether he wants to have her for a friend, whether he wants to have her for a quick lay, whether he wants to have her for a wife, whether he wants to have her for a girlfriend. Now, unconsciously, when you look at the girl, believe me, when you look deep inside you, these questions come up. So the first 5-10 minutes you look at someone, you are like, okay. Now, depending on how the relationship progresses, now these feelings will then manifest. Now, if your feelings towards this woman happen to have been just for, like you talked about, to ghost her, okay, you realize that after 2-3 months, there will be nothing. There will be no interest. You will actually not invest in establishing a relationship with her. So because your mindset is already there. But you'll be surprised that sometimes the woman can actually play you. You look at this girl, you're like, okay, maybe this one I just want her for, maybe just for this moment. But then she surprises you, and you actually get to know her, and you get hooked.
You stay for
and
life.
she didn't want you.
Exactly. And when that happens and she dumps you, believe me, you're in trouble, because by that time you would be the one who is actually.
And that's why I say you should always anticipate. You should know that this one I'll be with this one for this duration of time. If things go this way, I will ghost her. It's a new phenomenon, and it's working.
Can I ask you one question, Stefan?
She'll make you break
Have
up
you
with
heard
your singleness.
of that saying that says love is blind? You just know it didn't fall from the sun. It actually is true. Now, we're here at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel. We do have to go into a break. We're here talking about moving on after breakup. How easy is it? According to Stefan, it's simple. You can actually even anticipate it. If that was the case, there would be no heartbreaks. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we're here at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel talking about moving on after breakup. Now, don't forget, this is your show. We want to hear from you. Our Twitter handles are right there underneath you on your screen. Our hashtag is NTV MEN. Let's engage in the discussion and talk about how to move on after breakup. This show is brought to you by Obulamu. Yes.
So I think that in speaking about moving on, I think that it's easier or harder depending on what someone has put in your life. So, and again, it's this long term versus short term. If you're in a relationship with someone where everything they ever gave you in that relationship was a perishable, they brought you chocolates, they bring you cake, they bring you flowers, everything they brought, and you have to look at this again, which is what I was saying. There's a very few truly evil masterminds. But so there are people who are like this. There are guys who just go into relationships and everything they give you is perishable. So if they leave after a month, basically, even if they give you a t-shirt, it's made of like, you know, Chinese cotton.
So you
wash it 3 times. It's a rag now. There's nothing of that relationship of them left in your life. And I think that also, as you know, just speaking to what Chris and Noradin were saying, when there are things that are permanent and pensionable in your life, and it's not picture frames, it's someone who's been so much in your life that there's nothing in your kitchen you can touch without thinking about them. You can't put the blue pair of bed sheets on the bed, or the white ones, or the pink ones without thinking about them, because there's a story for each of those things. You can't put on your favorite shoes without remembering a compliment or something they don't like. And because of that, they've essentially changed how you live. And I think that it's really difficult to move on from those kind of things. Most times, you know, people recommend that you just burn everything.
I wouldn't really believe in that.
Well, no, I've ever witnessed someone burn stuff. I don't know if it helped very much, but I think that for me there's almost a very sacred thing about relationships, because we human beings are not just flesh. We're not just pieces of flesh moving around. We you know, there is the real you, and then there's all these emotions and how you think and how you process things and stuff that is dear to you, a bit of what Colin has been saying. And so because being in a relationship gets the whole of you. In fact, from a biblical perspective, you know, it says you join with the person. Some people call them soul ties. I don't know what, you know, different people would call them different things. But because there is such a strong connection that happens, a breakup is almost like, if it's been a real relationship and it's not been playing games, it's like someone gets one's heart and just rips it apart. Right? They almost go with a piece of you, and you need time to catch up with it, to catch up with yourself. Now, of course, it's in a world which Colin calls utopia. It is a world where, at least from what I believe and how I see things, it's better to be, even if you're in a very good, deep relationship, not to engage sexually unless you're married. And that's because sex cements the relationship. All right? So when you have sex with a person you are like that, and then they tell you they're gone, you're almost asking, where are you going? Like what do you mean you're going?
Where are you taking all this sex? To whom are you going to give it?
I know that he's not going to agree.
I think you guys live in a utopia. Like, let me explain something. You know,
It's a generation thing.
we live in different times.
True.
We live in an era where, you know, we have social media. You know, the other day, one of these ladies moved on so easily. I don't know if I can remember her name. And it created conversation on social media. And one thing I said is that, you know, research has it that women always have a plan B. You know, moving on has become so
true,
easy
man. No,
in the 21st century. It is so true.
I think
on TV right now I want us to qualify Stefan's research sources. What's the source?
Because every time he says someone radio guys,
Okay,
they come out here and they start saying things
I'll
like
tell
this.
you what. I think, Stefan, in all fairness, there are some people who move on. Okay, but not everybody. However, I need to then ask, is there anything like, and anybody can help me out here, like a decent breakup?
Yeah.
Of course,
Where both parties agree that
Ghosting is a very decent breakup.
ghosting is not. It's actually cowardly.
you can't
not
deal with
cowardly.
it.
It's cost
Cowardly.
effective.
No.
It's cost effective. One, you're not affected with all the crying and
Stefan,
whatnot.
let's agree.
No
We have
more.
ghosting
is very good.
We have
actually.
established that ghosting is not a relationship. It is not.
What is a real relationship? None of you has explained. A relationship is me meeting this woman.
Stefan, let me ask you a question. First, hold on. Let me ask you a question. How do you ghost a lady who knows your popular hangouts, who knows your home, who knows where you work, who knows your friends? Just tell me, how do you ghost her?
You disappear. Let
From
me show
what?
you how
From
ghosting
what?
works. And that's why I told you previously is that it depends on the type of relationship. If this is a side dish type of relationship,
So
if
is
this
that your speciality? Because
No, it's not my
So
specialty.
you specialize
That's
in
not-
That's
side
why I told you,
dishes.
you live in a utopia.
It's okay.
The real world,
It's okay.
relationships
You
like
can
this
insult me.
exist.
It's okay. You can insult me, but I would want your stuff to hold. So what kind of speciality are you talking about?
No.
Because every time we ask you about ghosting,
Listen.
you talk about side dishes things, but then you're trying to project yourself as someone who is not in that. But somehow ghosting works
No,
for
listen,
you.
listen.
So could you situate yourself?
Brother Stefan, just
In
before
the
you
21st
continue.
century, we have relationships such as side dish type of relationship.
They've
We
always
have
been
friends
there.
with benefits type of relationship.
Solomon
These
had
are-
1,000.
These
You can
are
define them
relationships.
1,000 ways.
These are relationships that have come up in the 21st century.
No.
But Stefan,
That's
Stefan,
as old
Stefan,
as Solomon.
Stefan, are you aware, for your sake, all your relationships are side dishes?
No,
That's exactly what I was saying.
Including
For
you
you.
being the side dish.
Obviously, they are. Because you can only talk of a side dish when you have an
main
established,
dish, yeah.
established relationship with someone.
Yes.
You understand? Recognized. Then on the side,
That's the whole point of the side.
that's the whole point of the side. But in your case, all your relationships are like that.
So essentially, you're not on the main with anyone.
You
You're
exactly.
permanently on the side.
And also, I know,
It's more like Stefan.
I know, Stefan, you're feeling like the guns on the
No. But Peter, I want to talk about the decency of breakups.
I've told people so many times you should always have an exit strategy.
You can't get into a relationship planning.
You should always. It happens.
But I just want to
Yeah.
say, I think that it's easy for Stefan to sit out here and speak like a grandmaster, the grandmaster of ghosting, the writer of the game, the author and finisher of all women's desires.
No, I just feel like you guys.
Because
live in a
he
different
talks
era.
like that, and then I think about, like, we've been there, man. I mean, not me, Peter, but you know, we've been there. Like these tricks, we played all of them. But I want to talk to you about a decent breakup, and in speaking about that, you have to. So there is you have to consider the context. You're in relationships with people who are fleeting, who are going to be like, you know what, go out one night, get drunk, wake up tomorrow morning, you know what, that was done, it's good riddance to bad rubbish. And so there is, it kind of makes it hard, because it's as much about you getting close and saying these things are non-negotiables for me. And there's so many examples. I remember growing up, there's a girl, and we didn't agree because she didn't want children. It was her life purpose and how she saw the world. Ironically, then this life just sent me a different way altogether. But that's you think about that, but then you think about how do you handle that kind of conversation, and I think you have to have the maturity to say the issues are 1, 2, 3, and I've tried to fix them using method 1, 2, 3, and those methods haven't worked. So I think that their best way is now. That's you doing your part. That doesn't guarantee that the person is not going to set the house on fire.
Okay.
I mean, someone once burnt my cat. They poured hot water on it. They boiled it. They just,
Your cat?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Stray cat.
There was a stray cat who
No,
cared.
I used to feed a stray cat.
But
Used
then,
to come to
but
my
that
house.
should tell you that actually the cat was getting more attention. If I may use somebody like Stefan's word, that pussy was getting more attention. But anyway,
Someone boiled my pussy, and I think that
Guys,
you're welcome.
that's going
No,
south.
I'm just simply saying how you handle the issue is also how you deal with it is only how you perceive it. It doesn't guarantee that the madness from that person's side will not send everything to hell.
But then, you see, what I would like to know is there a situation where you can actually be honest with yourself and say, yes, you know what, I messed up? Because it's always very easy to blame the other party. Say, okay, so and so did this to me. Even if you got dumped, is it possible to sit back and say to yourself, look, you know what, I messed up here, I should have done this, I should have done that, that's why she left me? Because I believe if you do that and you're honest with yourself, then when you get into another relationship, you will be all right. I don't know why people get very upset about, not that you should not get upset if you lose your woman, but there are 4 billion women in this planet.
Here's the thing. There are 4 billion women and you are not dating them. Okay. That's the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
The problem is it was this one that you had chosen out of the 4 billion, because I mean, of course, no man ever has the 4 billion walk before them. It's usually a sample space of a few hundred if you're like Colin, and the sample space goes smaller if you're mere mortals like some of us. but
we're here with the Anoga. We've got the millennial legendary Peter Egan.
No.
Self-styled.
Carry your cross.
No.
This one is on you.
Carry your cross.
But the point I'm making is that if you are as invested in a relationship, and it's a real relationship like Nudin has said, then you have a lot of you in this person. They're not 4 billion. That's not the number you see. You see the number 1. All right. So because your heart and your life, and we've not talked about this yet, but your hopes and dreams were invested in this person. That is the problem. That the reason why when someone dies, people really weep is A, you've got all these memories with them, but B, usually is you have all that to do. Thank you.
We were going to go here.
Yes,
we were going to
all
go
that plans.
So
most of the times when someone has just lost someone and then they're in that shock, the things that come out of their mouth, this is just a basic. Oh, we know, you can't die now. We're supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that. But you see, in a dating relationship, if someone, like in a real solid relationship, and for me, I'm even looking at breakup, getting even into the space where people are married. Divorce is very devastating. Because in all these spaces, you have plans, you have hopes, you sort of have wired this thing, you're like, okay, this is where we're going. Now the problem is someone just ups and goes, and you're like, so what am I going to do with this dream, this plan, and all that?
We agreed on this. We said in 3 years we're going to go here. Where are we supposed to?
So that's the reason why you can't say. I mean, you could be civil about it. You can be decent, but the real emotions are savage and rough.
I just want to put some icing, just some icing.
We do need to go into a break and we'll come back straight to you. But however, Chris, I need you to think about something. The reality is, if you were doing everything right in your relationship, this person would not just, unless they're crazy.
Peter, I'm not saying there is an angel. Okay. I'm just saying.
I've said my point in the time
yes,
you've been
okay, but we'll be right back after the break. Now we're here at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel talking about moving on after a breakup. Is it easier said than done? Or is it something that you can just deal with in a civil manner, as Chris says? Now, don't forget, we need to hear from you. Go to your Twitter handle, start talking to us. Our hashtag is NTV MEN. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you have just joined us, we're here at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel talking about moving on with your relationship after a breakup. Now, this show is brought to you by Obulamu and Colin, who was purporting to be our expert.
I am not an expert on moving on. I think that you people, you're just going to paint me in this bad light, and yet today I'm amongst generals.
your reputation
precedes you.
So I was going to say that in support of what Chris was saying, that whole idea of when you've been in a relationship with someone and you have even just, as Stefan says, you've gone the extra step and you've cemented the relationship with some spicings of some sex, and it's not so bad, you actually like it,
And no perishables.
and the person says, I'm leaving, then you're saying, but where are you taking all these things? Where are you taking, there's all these things, and the sad thing is sometimes you've actually put things into this person's life, you've built them, and not just money wise, you've invested yourself in them, you've shared things, and so there is actually a real connection. And think about that, I kept thinking, so what does a guy, as a man, what's a guy thinking when you say you're leaving? What's really happening inside his head? Is he thinking, okay, this is the end? And what Chris was saying was, some guys heal quickly. I mean, it could have been a real relationship, it could have been a floozy, but some guys heal quickly, and some people take entire lifetimes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the question where healing is concerned has a lot to do with what you present yourself with. Do you get into another relationship to heal? Okay, can that be part of the healing process, or do you just shut yourself off?
That's usually called a rebound.
But
And
it
it's
helps.
bad news.
They don't have very high
because
success rates.
because it's actually one of the most unfair things someone can do to another. Because you're missing a relationship that you're so connected with. After a week, you just pick up someone and off you go with them. You're not invested in them, and they pour their whole hearts into it. And then when you are feeling better, you say, "I'm done. I'm now fine." That really is using someone.
I think sometimes people do
You know.
the kind of things you've talked about because they want to prove a point. This relationship is off. Maybe you were still interested. Now you want to prove to this partner that, you know what, I still got this.
Yeah.
So you go out and look for the nearest. Whether the person actually meets the requirements or not is another thing. But you just want to be seen, to be in a relationship, to prove that, you know what, okay, you left me, here I am. Now when that happens, definitely you are bound to face so many difficulties and challenges. Now before we went for the break, you did ask a question that, what happens before you break off? Is it that sometimes you don't do certain things in the relationship that actually manifest into a breakup, or is it that you have actually done everything that there is to do,
and you were just not enough,
and it is just not enough? I think sometimes people go into relationships with different motives, like we talked before. I may be in a relationship with a lady, but the lady is not actually in a relationship with me. The lady is actually...
She's ghosting you.
She's ghosting me. She's actually using me maybe as
A conduit. Yeah.
a stopgap. The real man is somewhere.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
Yeah.
when that happens,
it's somewhere on NTV MEN.
when the shove comes to a push, she'll tell me, "Hey, young man, old man, it's off. I'm out of here." Now, you who has invested, because you went in full scale, you did not know that you were a second choice.
Yeah.
There's bound to be repercussions. So, if you go into the relationship when you are 100% committed, but the partner is not 100% committed, what happens? You may do everything possible, give in your all, 110%. But the person is not seeing it because in the first place, the person did not even have you as a partner.
Yeah, but then you see, Nuruddin, that's where I have a problem with a relationship, because you see, a relationship is meant to be two-way. Does it mean that sometimes some men are blind to these things, as in you're so into it, even because you'll always see telltale signs. That one you will always see.
No,
but you just
Peter, for me, this is very obvious.
Yeah.
It's very obvious. Have you ever hired the wrong person to work for you? If you've ever hired people, you most probably will say, yes, you have. Have you ever had a friend, a guy who you think is a friend and they turn out to be lousy? Most of us have had one of those. So in other words, can we have a wrong call in life? We can. Okay? And unfortunately, even for things as serious as relationships, you can have a wrong call. You can make a wrong call, right? And I think that, yes, it's true that some relationships break up because you've messed up. It's true that some relationships break up because you don't even know why. Okay, you just find that you've been a pawn
She's not there
in a
anymore.
grand game.
You're the
You know,
same
and you know that the chess master was moving their pieces, and they found a pawn and sacrificed you at the right time, which was your very wrong time, but you're dead. You're off the board. Okay, but then there's also some very, very difficult times where you realize, or someone realizes that there what some people would call irreconcilable differences,
Yeah.
but it's really about core values. You don't agree on core values. And some things that are very core to you, the person does not value them. All right? And so you find that no matter how hard you try, I mean, you're like, this is good, that is good, but this part, I can't look away from this part. And they tell you honestly,
And
look,
this is for life.
and it's for life. And they tell you honestly, I also cannot be this thing. I don't believe in it. Colin gave an example. He definitely wanted to be a father, and he's dating this person who he probably loved a lot, but she says, me and kids, not happening. I mean, what do you do with someone who's just going to go to the hospital and rip up their uterus? And you hope that they're going to be your wife. Dude had to walk. So sometimes it's not so much because someone did something wrong, but it's because you're wired differently and the value sets are different. And for me, I see this from, whether you look at it from belief sets, you believe very differently. You can believe so differently, even just about who God is.
Yeah.
I can so believe in God, and then I God forbid, you date someone like me is dating someone who believes there is no God. I promise you, there is no way that relationship is going to work, because when trouble comes knocking your way,
I'm going to get
you kneel down and say,
Pray.
God,
Yeah.
And the
help
person
me.
is just like,
SK
how
is
will I
like,
fix it?
fool, get up and fix it. Yeah, I know. So core values.
I just
then-
want to
okay,
add
so
some-
just-
I just wanted,
yeah.
I wanted to add something to what he said and what he said. If you think about these days, and you said, you know, you go into a relationship, you do all the right things, you get dumped. You don't do all the right things, you still get dumped. Because think about it, people are getting married later and later these days. Anyway, so you're a lady, you're in your 30s. It's time. You feel it. There's pressure every other weekend. You're attending a baby shower. You're just out there, just having your period normally, no scares. You're just living life. You've been in a relationship with this Stefan for 4 years. Now, he's starting to look sketchy. He's preparing to ghost you. In your mind, the question is, do you fight for Stefan?
Let me say
First,
this.
wait.
You-
Or do you move on? Do you have another 4 years to go and meet a new guy? And we have to be very real when we talk about these things. Or you're a guy, you've been dating this girl, you're in your late 30s, you thought it was happening, you found at campus, you have a 8-year age gap, you dating, she says to you, I've not even done my first job, I need to live my life, I need to party. You had started putting down the mortgage. You're like, you know what, we're going to have kids, we're going to settle down. Girl tells you, no, I need to first party. Let's just wait another 3 years. But you know that in 3 years, man,
It'll be a
the
different
swimmers
ballgame.
will just, they'll be on injury. And we
let
have
me
to take
say
care of that
Yeah.
pressure.
You know we are running out of time.
I feel like sometimes people get what they deserve. I meet you the first time and I tell you what I need. I need in a relationship. I'll tell you that you know what? I'm not planning to get married. I don't want kids. But you, in your construed brain, you think that I will change this guy. I want a serious relationship with him. 5 years down the line, I disappear. I ghost you. I disappear from the face of the world, and you can't move on. But I told you this. The first time we met, I told you that what?
In a very bizarre way, what he's saying actually
It is
makes
so
sense.
true.
You actually get the relationship you deserve. But now, guys, we have actually reached that point
That's
when we
so
do
shallow.
have to. I'll get into that a bit later. But we do have to talk about wrapping up. Now, I want us in our wrap up to talk about breakups happen. It has happened. How do you heal? How do you move on? And that will form your parting shot. We'll start with you.
I don't think there's a formula for healing. I'll say this, relationships happen. I've talked about ghosting, and people want to throw stones at me, but I'll say this, you need to anticipate. That's why we have things like prenups. You have things like like what I told you earlier on. Like, you need to read the person you're with. I tell you that this is what I want in a relationship. Take him for that. Don't lower your standards as a woman to accommodate someone. Be with your standards. Let the guy come and complement your relationship. Relationships are there are there for breakups. I don't think there's a formula for for moving on. Things happen, and yeah, that's it.
Just ghost along.
Just ghost along. Chris, your parting shot.
Well, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, "Cursed is every man who puts his trust in men." Cursed is every man who puts his trust in men. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in it. Because if you put your full trust in any human being and think that they'll never disappoint you or anything, when it happens, it hurts a lot more than when you knew you were dealing with a human being. I think it helps. That helps. I've found that helps. Not just for me, but other people. Just to know a human being can let you down.
When you go into a marriage, you're meant to be like, just in case.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I know that I'm fallible, and so is my wife. We're all fallible. We can make mistakes. Things can go south. We don't work toward that, but you know that a human being is a human being. I think that's a helpful thing. But the second thing is that is for, because you're talking about how to heal. I think first of all, it's important to allow yourself to hurt. If it's like if you've lost someone, mourn. If it hurts, let it hurt. Like, accept that you're hurting, and allow yourself to go through the stages of loss. You might feel some anger, some bitterness, some regret, and all that, but allow yourself to go through. Acknowledge the loss, so that then you move on quicker, as compared to pretending that you're not hurt, like Nodir was saying, and so you get another, you do a rebound just to prove that it didn't hurt, and yet it's hurting. So then you're hurting two people at the same time. I think that you acknowledge what's going on and say, look, this is what's going on. It hurts. You allow yourself to heal, and then you bring your fresh A game to the table for the next opportunity God brings your way.
I think that there is a lot of merit in embracing pain and anger. I think that there is space for that anger, for that pain. Because we live, if you're Stefan and you live your life like you're Superman, you're untouchable, you can ghost from anyone, you're invincible, no one can reach inside your inner circle. When someone reaches in there and yanks something out, you need to feel that, because I think it also brings back your humanity, it brings back your vulnerability, it shows you how exposed you are. Now, what you do with it is something else. Some people go on the other extreme end and they become untouchable. And I see in a lot of cases, and I've been wanting to talk about this, is the rise of ultra masculinity. It's coming back. The idea that men must be unfeeling and tougher, it must be a man's man. Whereas you see a lot of the 20th century was very much about chivalry and men being nice and courteous. You're seeing in the people and the media that are shaping the idea of where men are going now, it's becoming more ultra masculine, tougher, less sensitive, less compromising. And so you can do that with your pain, or you can, just allow it to change you and make sure that you're better for the next person. I don't think that there is any merit in living your life all the way from ghost to ghost. That's not a real destination.
Yeah. All right, great stuff. Oga Boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to at the risk of ghosting, when the breakup happens, you need to be able to tell yourself that, agree that, you know what, it is over. Because more often than not, it becomes very difficult if you do not accept that it is over. If you don't accept that it is over, you will never move forward. You'll be in denial. You think that, okay, maybe he'll come back. Maybe she'll come back. Maybe if I did this, I'll get him back or I'll get her back. You need to be able to sit down and say, okay, what is it that went wrong? If you're able to find answers, well and good. If you're not able to find answers, then you need to tell yourself that, you know what, this relationship has ended. I need to move forward. How do you move forward? The moving forward will depend on the person. You can decide to do things that make you happy. You can decide to engage positive activities. If you used not to go for sports, join the gym. Get into activities that will make you forget about the experience. If you're in a routine of activities with this person, try and break those routines. Try and break those activities. Get into patterns that will not remind you of the old partner, so that your new set of activities will help you move on. And in the process, you can actually meet friends who will help you overcome.
Great stuff. Well, thanks a lot. Actually, there's only that we're out of time, but I know there's one thing that we did not talk about, which is like counseling and also having a support group in terms of positive friends. And I think it's also important to have friends who will take you to the next level, and not those ones who, when you're not there, say, but Colin, did he see that one come?
And maybe also just being positive about situations, because he said life is 20% events or stuff that happens, 80% response. How you respond, you choose.
You choose. Very well. There you've had it, ladies and gentlemen. We have been talking about moving on after a breakup. How do you do that? You've heard it. Give us your thoughts also on our page. That's on our Facebook page, and also on hashtag NTV MEN. And we'll have the conversation going on. Have a good night from us here at the Sheraton, Kampala. Don't forget, this show is brought to you by Obulamu. Have a good night and God bless.